Welcome to Story Dads. This one is fun. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, wacky movie, but we don't get as much in the movie, but we get into what it means to watch stories with your kids. We analyze the movie a bit, but we got Tessa Barkley on, and her stories around this are really heartfelt, and I think there's going to be some good insights about how to watch movies with your kids and not just about what the content is. So thanks for being with us, and welcome to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs with the Story Dads.
So we're rolling. Welcome to Story Dads.
Welcome to Story Dads, everyone. Welcome to Story Dads, Tessa. Great to have you with us. This is going to be fun.
Hey, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
You are an honorary story dad, story sister, however
story
you
daughter.
want to identify for the. There you go, story daughter. All right.
And probably the strongest guest we've had from the Barkley family so far.
I wasn't gonna
definitely
come out and say it, but
yeah, no, you don't have to testify on your own behalf. We'll do it for you.
Yeah, we'll do it for you. We all know it's the case.
put it in the description.
Okay, so Tessa, how do we know you? Where do we know you from?
Well, you two personally know me through my family, my two very extroverted parents, who thankfully I met a lot of really cool adults through them, and it's hard to remember the exact moment I met you guys because I was really young, but I do know that honestly both of you have been really formative for me in my growing up in terms of like my exposure to pop culture, my honestly, Eric, you were one of the first people that exposed me also to the benefits of therapy and psychology work. You were genuinely one of the first people I had ever talked to about that kind of thing, and so I looked up to you and Jill in that way a lot. But
wow,
yeah, that's how I first met you guys, or how you know me at least now.
Yeah, I think I was your fifth grade Sunday school leader for a hot minute there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now you are attending. You haven't graduated yet, have you?
No, senior year coming up.
Okay,
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And where are you attending, and in what program?
I am in the screenwriting program at Loyola Marymount, Los Angeles, and I've loved my time there. There's a lot to be said, I think, about the film curriculum now, and there's some ways they get it wrong, some ways I'm very, very grateful to be in school, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully continuing to do screenwriting after I graduate too. Yeah.
Awesome. Say more about what you are liking about it, what you think is missing, if you feel comfortable doing that. I know all of your faculty watch our show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent them.
But yeah, what's your experience been?
Yeah, I would say of course I don't have as much experience in other colleges, but just in comparing notes with friends, I hear all the time from adults who are not in college, don't go to college for film. It's not worth it. And I was so excited about the school environment, and I was so excited to have an easy way to collaborate with people my age rather than being thrust right into the workforce. And I think our curriculum at LMU is actually so collaborative compared to other schools. Immediately our freshman year, we are supposed to take not just screenwriting classes, but production and recording arts and film media studies. And so you get all of those connections across majors in your first year. And I still maintain all of those friendships and relationships senior year. And I can't attest to all of the production curriculum, but the screenwriting pathway, I feel it makes a lot of sense. They never limit you. They're not this is the one formula to make a good script. This is the one formula to, compel people with your story, but they definitely give you really, really good maps. And they talk about, coincidentally, they talk about animated films and kids films all the time. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think I had one of my favorite professors talked about How to Train Your Dragon, which you guys have talked about, but he was saying, and maybe Micah, you can attest to this too, but they were saying that kids, animated scripts have to be so tight before you even start production because it is expensive or tedious to refilm or to reanimate. And also I think in animated films you can get away with being very clear about your message too, because it's for kids. And I think sometimes with other films you have a lot of filler scenes, or it's a lot of fluff and style, and like with animated films you have to be straight to the point and the message has to be clear, or they're not going to make it. And so that's why I feel like animated scripts are so tight usually. There are exceptions.
No, I think that's true. And I think that it's like that I forget who said it, I should remember, but the medium is the message. And because who was that, do you know, Eric?
I know the quote.
Bertram Russell maybe. But yeah, the method of crafting animation is so labor intensive and so process oriented. There is no room for, once you're in production, there's very little room for improvisation. And so, it's trade-offs, because sometimes you get magic from improvisation and from accidents that happen, in a live set where you're everything is happening in real time. Same with like theater, you can get these amazing magical moments, and you can also get horrible disasters where things go either really right or really wrong.
What would you say the ratio of horrible disasters to magical moments is on just pure
theater?
Improv?
It
depends on the age group.
It's going to depend on who's on stage, huh?
Sure, yeah. How good's your talent?
Well, and so Tessa, you are very unique in your interdisciplinary abilities and experience. And so I can see why something that does encourage collaboration would be really valuable to an artist like yourself, because you are a stage performer, you are a singer. I think you're songwriting now, and probably producing in some aspects.
Yeah.
You're wanting to write. Your family and yourself both have a lot of unique experience in film production, having gotten to see behind the scenes, and in even the pre-production in terms of like how the business works with, casting and waiting on green lighting and movies getting shelved. And so you've seen behind the curtain in a lot of ways. I don't know if you want to share any of your experience from that, but or talk about your album that you're putting together.
I mean, I appreciate that, giving me the opportunity to shamelessly plug, but no, I'm excited about that album. I'll go and I have a social media for it, so that'll be, maybe I'll talk about it later, but
we'll link in the show notes.
I think that I guess even more recently, I was always really afraid of being kind of like exposed to a lot of things, but a master of none. And like, I thought, I'm like, can I get forward in any of these areas if I'm not overly committed to just one of them? And I think my mom was such an advocate for like exposing yourself to everything. And so she would say, when you go to visit Marlo on set, my little sister, people don't know, when you go to visit Marlo on set, ask questions about everything, about every department. And like I think she was so helpful in like helping me get the most out of that experience too, even though I wasn't like in front of the camera. And I'm so grateful that I had exposure to, again, the business side and to the creative side. And I feel like just answering as many questions as possible helps you in every area. And so, I'm really grateful that I've had a lot. I feel more well-rounded, and now I get to figure out what sticks for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you noticed cross-pollination between what you're learning in, say, production or in music with what you're learning in screenwriting, or how you're expressing it?
Definitely. I think what I've learned the most about like being, I guess, involved in all of these circles is like, how does the audience view it? Like, how does the audience experience it? And I never thought about that before. So now that I've become hyper aware of that, in not just in my screenwriting and movie production, but I think about that in the music studio too, where I'm like, okay, I like how this sounds, but I can see the people sitting in the room and they don't, like, it's not clicking with them. Or I read a script out loud in class and I'm like, I feel very passionate about that, but why is it not clicking for 4 people in the room? And so I think that's, now I think about like not just how passionate I feel about the project, but like, okay, how does the audience experience it? Do you think about production in all those ways? Yeah,
it's such an interesting line to walk when a person wants to bring their art into the world of commerce and put them together. And I don't know about you, but I always heard the term, like growing up, about like selling out. Like,
don't
they
sell
sold
out.
And which as I got older and as I started experiencing success in the art and commerce, crossover, I started realizing that for the most part, maybe like 80 to 90% of the time, people talking about accusing an artist of selling out, they were more coming from a place of, frankly, jealousy of the fact
envy.
that someone's product found an audience and a market and that they were actually commercially viable. And so it's an interesting, but then on the other hand, there is a world where you do sell out, where an artist can just eliminate integrity entirely and just chase market factors and
I feel
audience
like
capture.
I feel like the audience capture is what comes to my mind there, and there's a lot of discussion of that now with just social media influencers and people who just cater towards like what's going to get clicks, it's like there's a lot of that, and it's weird seeing like that sellout energy on just like anyone can do it now because anyone can just put up social media content around that versus like it takes on a different thing where it's like I'm going to craft a whole movie or a whole album, something that takes hours and days and months of work in order to get done. If I purely allow that to become audience capture, it seems like they tend to get lost.
And this might seem like it's a segue, but I think it applies to both music and movies a lot. And I see this so much I didn't see it as much in high school because I think everybody was just like so excited about what they wanted to do in the future. And then in college, you get a little more pretentious and serious. But I see in the music scene, a lot of people are so quick to like offend other bands or offend other people because they're like, this is so easy. What they're doing is so like predictable and not unique enough. And I was like, I feel like there's also the same way that you think they are like trying too hard to appease everybody, maybe you're trying too hard to be different. And like there's something not genuine about that also. And
that knife can cut both ways. You can be like, I'm just trying to fit into the specific thing, and I'll still be like, well, I'm specifically trying to not fit into the thing, and both is you're putting on an act. Neither are genuine. Yeah,
it's sort of like how a person can be very self-obsessed by being highly egotistical, but you can also be self-obsessed by being highly self-loathing, and you're either way, like you're still just self-obsessed. Your self-loathing is still a form of...
The shame is just as narcissistic as the big blustery ego.
It's
David Mamet has a great book. So I got kicked out of art school, and a friend of mine gave me on my way out a book by David Mamet. It's called True or False: Common Sense and Heresy for the Actor. And I think it applies to any artist. But Mamet's obviously earned his right to speak in the courtroom. And so he was talking about how, in his opinion, artists frequently succeed in spite of their schooling, and that the one of the downfalls of the studio kind of structure and like the conservatory structure is that it silos, and that you spend a lot of time just satisfying other, like in an acting sense, like I'm really just performing for other actors so that we can micro analyze and get, like you said, get real snobby and snooty about stuff and take things way too seriously. And he said, look, when you step off stage and somebody says, wow, that was such a great performance, the pretentious actor, which I was one when I was at art school, would be like, oh, yeah, but it wasn't, I screwed up this thing. I didn't do that right. And he's like, the proper answer is thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And he was hammering home the fact that, like, yes, you're an artist and you want to express yourself and you have like an urge, but ultimately you exist to perform for an audience. And the pleasure of the audience is your metric. And so regardless of whether I blew my lines or I missed my mark or I wasn't feeling that one moment that I really connected to, if it connected with the audience, then like, hey, mission accomplished, move on.
Well, shoot, I feel that outside of the art world. I mean, Tessa, you gave me a really sweet compliment at the beginning of this thing, and there's certainly a part that's easy to be like, well, I want to denigrate it in some way, but like, that means a lot. And I've wrestled with that over a long period of time. I've said something, I've worked with someone, and they give you some thoughts, and maybe I have different ideas about how, like, working with a client or what I thought the results of the case were or should be. But at the end of the day, like, I did something that meant a lot to them, and it's easy in that pretentious, like, ego-filled state to, like, I want to denigrate that, or I want to feel like it should be some big gravitas thing. So I think that's a pretty universal concept.
Yeah. And my mom and dad would always say, like, just take what they say to be true.
Mhm.
And, like, don't read into it, don't try to overanalyze it, but, like, if they're, making an effort to say that thing, they probably mean it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
And for-
there's going to be a share of that, but like if you don't want to go through life just thinking like everyone who says something positive is only out to get something, only out to like give an angle, they're just trying to butter you up. Like, it's a cynical, depressing way to go through life if you're just viewing things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also, and I do want to talk about the movie, and I know we haven't yet. And this actually might be a really good segue into the movie, but I also want to talk about the summer that we spent during quarantine with me and you and your dad, where we went through like a horror movie anthology to like introduce you to the canon of great horror as a genre.
And by the
So
way,
maybe
I'm
talk about
taking
that a
notes
little
on this to how to introduce my kids to a series of horror movies when they're old enough too. So I gotta.
Yeah.
This is relevant for me.
I'm pretty sure my kid's gonna have to be like 24 because he's really, really like his imagination runs wild. He gets really scared of stuff. And so how old were you when we did that?
Well, quarantine, I think I was 15 when quarantine began, and I think it took us a minute. So I was probably 15 still, I want to say.
Yeah.
And again, all of what I say is completely true. But I also had a wild imagination, and I was very terrified to dive into the world of horror, but I loved anything that I saw, I loved. And it was during a time when Marlo and Mom were away, and Marlo was filming, and I did feel very, like, I don't want to say lonely, and felt like I in quarantine didn't have a purpose, but I was like trying to find a creative pocket where, I just found meaning in something, and like I was like, she's away and I'm just stuck in the house. And so those nights where we would go up 2 streets up just to see horror movies like once a week was actually like the highlight of my quarantine experience, because I got to go and hear 2 like very smart and wise adults talk about these like silly movies from a very knowledgeable perspective. And like I never imagined being a huge horror fan, but then I actually started, that was the stuff I started writing after I watched all those movies with you guys. And yeah, some of the stuff was, hey, we could have fast forwarded, but some of it's
grisly.
Some of it was inappropriate, and some of it was maybe a little too early for my eyes. But yeah, that was definitely formative in my movie loving, I guess.
Yeah, well, so your dad and I would coordinate and figure out the schedule of like what is the proper order, and we had some goals where it's like, okay, we got to build up to the thing. So what are the movies that will be like sort of, stepping stones to sort of make it okay to, watch the thing without being completely wrecked by it? Like, what are some kind of mild
horror? And not to be confused with the movie The Thing.
What's that?
Not to be confused with the actual movie The Thing.
Yes, no.
Right?
the movie The Thing, yeah. We knew we wanted to build to that. And then I don't know if we ever did The Exorcist, because I won't even watch that one. It just scares the hell out of me.
I watched that on my own time.
Yeah, that had to be exciting. I would not sit and watch that by myself. Yeah. So we would find we were trying to be very particular about making like a syllabus, and we got through, I think, a couple dozen at least. Yeah.
We were bored. I don't know if you heard,
yes.
But there was nothing going on during that time.
There was nothing. Yeah. And so it was also a highlight of my week. It was fun to like lay out programming like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad I didn't have to walk back out in the dark, afterwards. I got to just stay in my house with a giant dog. But,
so to give a quick psychological analysis of this, especially on a podcast where we normally unpack kids movies and we're discussing the horror genre here, which to some people might sound like, what are we doing? This is not really relevant to the kids movies that we're normally discussing. But I actually what is the draw to you guys to the horror genre, because I actually think there's some pretty core pieces there that are like not that are pretty closely linked to like the children's stories that we often explore.
I mean, if I just my interpretation, I guess how they describe horror movies in school is like the monster is never actually the monster. And the monster is always, horror, I guess, started as social commentary also, depending on what time you're in. Like, it's, I feel like 70s horror films, it's a lot of, like, religious and a lot of culty and a lot of, like, women's reproductive. That was, like, very, that was, like, there was this emergence of that. But I feel like that's always what horror movies are. It's like the monster is never the monster, and there's always something deeper, and I feel like it's the same thing with kids' movies, that the monster is never the monster.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the fun things that I like about it is that it and I also, I've been just like speed listening to the original Conan the Barbarian books recently by Robert E. Howard. And this idea that like civilization is like this thin and underneath it is just barbarism. And that it takes just the tiniest little rupture to nudge us back into barbarism. And there's something about horror and how it's ubiquitous, and like horror films always sell really well overseas. Because there's universality to the fact we all know, like that. Yes, there's monsters out there, but there's monsters in here. Yeah, and that everyone I'm around has monsters in here as well. And, one thing that comes to mind is like, well, The film is a perfect representation of that, where, yes, there's a shape-shifting, horrific alien from hell. Yeah. But ultimately, it's about us. Can we trust anyone here? Yeah. And isn't that, I was working at the Griffith Park Observatory when the solar eclipse was coming to Los Angeles. And it was during COVID, so supply lines were all messed up. And so there was limited, you couldn't get your hands on eclipse glasses. Those little like 95-cent things from China that make it so you can look at an eclipse. And I was up at Griffith Park Observatory in the gift shop where these two moms with like babies on them were about to come to like fingernails over the last pair of eclipse glasses in the gift shop. And I was going, dude, this isn't even food or water. This is just like a silly piece of just to look at, like, you can make a pinhole camera and see the eclipse. Like, you can do this at home. You don't need these special glasses. But these, these manicured moms are like, they've descended back into barbarism like that. And so like, that's one of the things I love about horror movies is it's like, I think it reveals that, we're just hanging on by a thread. It puts you in touch with some pretty core human raw stuff that like,
I feel like, and it's not as related to the kids' movies. Maybe it is, because I think it's a similar experience, like for children watching a movie like that, and like adults watching a horror movie, where it's the same feeling I get when I go to horror nights, where it's like sometimes when you're that close to the thing that like scares you or feels like death, for lack of a better term, you never feel more alive. And that's, I feel like, why we like that sort of genre. Yeah.
I remember I used to go, like, as a little kid at Blockbuster Video, would be going through all the different sections of movies you could rent and just seeing all the covers of all the movies in the horror section and feeling simultaneously terrified of them. I did not want to watch them because I was 8, but so fascinated, like, what the hell is going on in that movie? Like that. I remember Hellraiser, Pinhead was on them. Like, what is that guy? Why is he so terrifying? Hellraiser. What horrific things are he going to do to people? Right. And just those thoughts and those ideas, because it was like, there was something captivating and repulsing at the same time about those things. Yeah. And I see it with like my son, he's 8 right now. And I've told him like, hey, there's some like, scary movies when you get older, like I'd love to be able to show you. And he's already excited for them, but is also like, oh, not yet. I know I'm not ready. But like, I can feel he's already got that pull.
Well, and I know my son feels really proud of having gotten through like a scary part of a movie. Yeah. So like even The Princess Bride, the first time we watched it, he could not deal with the screeching heels or the ROUSs. And now that he's like, I think I can do it this time, Dad. And there's something about like and I think it is confronting something, emerging on the other side stronger for having endured it. And I don't think it's just desensitization. Like, I know there's that argument of like, oh, you're just desensitizing them to fear and violence. And it's like, no, I think I mean, maybe there's an aspect, but there's also like, I'm actually fortifying him because there are monsters in the real world. And they are, for the most part, inside of people, inside all of us, and they come out or they don't.
Well, and that feeling of like, I am scared. I don't want to look at the screen when this thing comes up and I want to run and I want to hide. No, I'm going to stay and I'm going to like watch it, get to the other side of that. And that could be like the even like for my younger kids, like the really sad scene in the kids movie that's like they feel sad now and I want to stop, I want to turn it off because I don't like the feeling that I'm having. But can we get to the other side of that? Now I feel like I've overcome something. I think that's what stories, especially an immersive medium like film, do, is like we embody these things and we go through that story.
Yeah. And then I think there's also something to confronting evil also means that there's good. And so I find that that's another real value to the genre, is like, well, if there's real true evil out there, there has to be some real true good out there as well.
Yeah. Is that anything to do with the reason, like, after you finish The Exorcist and you're like, oh gosh, that was dark, like I need to go watch The Office or something just to like
yeah, or like I need to get to church real fast.
Yeah. Hey everyone, quick break from the show. Hope you're enjoying it. Quick reminder to like, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend. If you're new, if you're one of Tessa's friends who's watching this and hearing the brilliant things she's got to say, let us know what you think. Make a point to subscribe and go check out some of our past episodes. And thanks for being with us. Back to the show.
And so let me tie this into the movie and we can get started on the movie.
Yeah.
So to tie it into the movie,
guys.
Here's how I'm going to tie it in. Watch this. For a child, everyone around you is a gigantic monster. And you're walking around with people that are 3 to 4 times your height and size, and they are all capable of incredible violence, even if it just means like nudging you out of the way. I can't imagine. My dog is eye level with my daughter, so she lives with essentially a gigantic dire wolf. And to me, he's just a dog. And so similarly, when I serve my daughter a piece of toast, to me, it's just a piece of toast. To her, it's a piece of bread the size of her head, which is how we're going to tie into the movie right there. Boom. Giant food, falling from the sky. What's our movie today, Tessa?
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Awesome. Talk to me about why you wanted to talk about this movie.
Yeah, this is one, again, how I remember a lot of films that I liked when I was a kid. Films, I'm going to say movies, because I feel like films is like pretend how I remember a lot of kids' movies is just by distinct visuals. So I don't actually remember what the movie's about usually. So I hadn't seen Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs in years, but I remember watching it all the time. And I remember which big piece of food was in which scene, but I don't remember what the scene was about. And
that's awesome.
But I do remember feeling I remember again the feeling I had, but not how I got there. I remember like at the end of the movie, I remember feeling very connected to my parents after watching it, and like feeling a different understanding for my parents and what they wanted for me.
Okay.
After watching Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and so I was like, I feel like I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm going to take a chance on this one and hope I relate to it. And I felt that way again. So
yeah. What was that like coming back to it with new eyes and a new level of analysis, and how did it impact you? What was new? What was different?
I mean, I think one of the things that comes to mind is I learned about this in my class, which I think it was helpful. I don't think it limited me. Was the 8 sequence structure in a story, like how a story plays out. And they always say like a movie is about a character trying the whole time to get what they want. And I think in this movie, he gets what he wants in the first 20 minutes. And that's not always how it works. And I thought it was interesting, like his growth is learning that getting what he wants is not the answer, and it's not gonna. And so I thought it was interesting that he essentially is riding a high the entire movie until he has this like intense wake-up call, and his dad is trying to prevent that from happening, and he's not perfect in it, but that's something I just didn't notice when I first watched it as a kid.
Yeah. So what is it that he wants?
I think there's like 2 things. I think he wants to be a respected inventor, but I think for the most part he just wants to be respected in his community, like just as a contributor. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, he kind of gets both of those in the first 20 minutes. Yeah.
You know what this movie structure reminds me of is every single music superstar biopic.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I'm chasing fame and fortune. I get fame and fortune. It ruins me. And then I realize what I really need is like people who love me and a place to do, like express my art in a way that's constructive. And obviously he doesn't overdose and all the things that happen in every single
you could argue
other
that
biopic. But yeah, he does kind of overdose, doesn't he?
Yeah. More. I did. As I was trying to kind of analyze this one in my watch through of it, I was looking up what's the psychological symbolism of oversized food, and a lot of everything I got was expanding ambition. It's things getting out of control, unresolved issues. It's I've bitten off more than I can chew, and now there's just more of the thing, and it becomes unwieldy and gets out of control. That's all the things you're talking about, Micah. I keep striving for more. I keep wanting more. I don't realize I can't handle what's in front of me.
Yeah, and I feel also because because it seems to be going so well at the beginning, the entire time I think, whether we realize it or not, the audience is waiting for him to fail, or they're waiting for the thing to blow up in his face.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel even in my own life, when when I accomplish something, then I'm okay, I'm waiting for it to blow up in my face. Or I'm waiting for it to be, I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah.
Well, and it's perfectly introduced in his opening show and tell, with the spray on shoes is, and this is a trope in science fiction, because this is, I guess you'd ultimately call this a science fiction movie, in very much the same vein as the old 50s sci-fi movies where the new technology goes horribly awry, and it's always about unintended consequences, which is something maybe our science community and medical community could think more about today, is the unintended consequences of your meddling with science. But that's always the 50-foot woman, or the giant lizard, or the whatever. It's always we've gone too far with our
we have
science,
created this amazing thing. Oh my gosh, it got out of control, and now we got to figure out how to put it back together.
So even his shoes, he's I never thought of taking them. How do I get them off again? And the
arrogance of man.
Yeah, and then that expands. So we see at the very beginning, he's kind of spray on shoes is pretty impressive for a little kid, And interestingly, it hadn't occurred to me, except that you pointed out that he gets what he wants so quickly. His inventions work right from the beginning. It's not like the shoes didn't work. He just was stuck with them for the rest of his life. But which is an interesting way to think about potentially cataclysmic scientific consequences.
Well, because the whole thing is all the things work, and then the problems start to happen in the excess of all those things, right? So what's the intention of my ambition, the thing I set out to do? I get that ambition, and then I totally lose sight of what other second, third order consequences are there around that, and what problems might those be caused. So there's a spot in there where as it's starting to rain and everyone's oh, this is super cool. They're and we even invented these cool catapults that just get rid of all the excess food that we don't know what to do with, right? So even at the get-go, it's we'll just throw that aside. Don't worry about that, right?
It's funny because I think when I was a kid, it's oh yeah, that's a practical way to deal with that.
We'll just throw them out.
Yeah. I mean, they're out of sight.
Right.
And then, yeah, it's funny because I think now when I watch it, I'm well, obviously that's going to blow up in their face. It's we've foreshadowed the climax.
Absolutely. Well, that's also very practical. That's how my kids operate. Hey, clean up your thing. What do you? It's not in front of me right now. It's not a problem. Clean up your. Well, I'm not in my room. I don't see the mess that's there. It does not exist to them at that time. That's how
I work on
5 and 8 year olds' brains operate.
So this movie, it's interesting because, I was watching it and trying to go, okay, what are my notes? What's my breakdown of this movie? And this is in no way a denigration of it. It's that I was well, it's all right there. Like it's such a sound screenplay. It's so solid. Every gag, this movie's old now, and every gag in it holds up. There's not a single gag in there that's so contemporary that you have to know the pop references at the time. The comedic performances are just perfect. They don't linger on gags too long. Like, they're very smart. It's a very smart film in that it uses, like, it's very dry, it's very bleak, it's very abstract. Like, it's totally absurdist.
Oh, it's
humor.
wacky as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like Monty Python-esque in its absurdism, but it does it in such a contained, straightforward manner. It never feels like it's just a gag fest like a lot of the movies that we've watched.
But it's so goofy. I mean, the animation's wacky. It's set on like Sardine Island, and there's food falling out of the sky. Like, it feels like kind of a fever dream. Yeah, but it stays grounded, and I think it stays grounded because these characters are so, like, intentionally built, and they, you know what it is? It's like the characters, the actors themselves are taking it very seriously. And if they were being bananas all the time, which I don't know if you've seen Hotel Transylvania. Like, it's hard because none of the characters are taking it seriously, and it's a gag fest. And the animation's it's like I have no touchstone to hang on to for reality. And in this one, it's like the plot is very straightforward. Like you said, we can all see where this is going from minute 20 all the way to the end. Which that then allows all the other wacky stuff to be wacky.
Yeah. And it hits, like you said, your eight sequence structure. It's like there's 15-minute pinches all the way through. It hits them right where it needs to hit them. And and this is maybe a weird deep cut, but like it reminds me of Master and Commander in a weird way. Like, because Master and Commander is another movie where I'm watching and going, why am I enthralled? Like, I haven't looked at my watch once. I haven't thought about my phone. And it's like, it's just characters and great dialogue, and like it does the things it needs to do. And
this is like the second episode in a row where we've had a technical issue that's caused us to glitch in and have to come back in. So glad we're able to get some more time to hang out with you as we wrap up Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs here. So,
yeah, I know. I can't complain. Get to talk to you guys again.
Okay, great. Well, we'll I already have ideas for more stuff for you in the next episode. But let's dig back in. So we were kind of wrapping up with closing out this movie, you know, the silliness, all the fun in that. I don't know, was there any big ideas in the villain comeuppance that's we thought of before?
I think that the way that the villain gets what's coming to him, so does Flint. I think they both.
Flint is kind of the villain in this one too.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely his own villain, and I would argue he makes a big mess for everybody else too. And I think they, in a way, get the same thing coming to them, where they both like bite off more than they can chew, and I think they feed each other. And I try to remember, like, I think the mayor's like arc is less developed, obviously, than Flint's, but and I guess I never really remember if the mayor even regrets his decision, or if
he's floating out in the ocean at the end, just like, oh, more food, right? I thought the mayor's an interesting character because he's kind of a stand-in for like the overconsumptive society, and he's the mayor, so he's the one like in charge of like leading the town, and he just goes, oh, let's just get more and more and more, till eventually the rest of the people realize, all right, this is the ambition, the overconsumption, this is not good for us. They've moved away from it, yet he gets almost like cast out by it, consumed by it in his own clever way.
Yeah, he embodies Flint's like prevailing flaw.
Oh, that's good.
Yes,
that's
good.
Yeah,
precisely. Yeah, I think you nailed that. Sorry, I'm on a horrible lag, aren't I?
And then like Flint's whole thing is like his drive, his ambition, his desire to be seen, which is very like for a sci-fi mad scientist type, like that that is that character archetype. So so much of his comeuppance is really like, look, unchecked ambition and disregard for second, third order consequences turns out cause a lot of problems for people around you, as we've experienced in different stages of life here. What did you think about the Flint's comeuppance? He learns his lesson, but I mean, what does he get?
I mean, we talked about this, but like he didn't really understand what was coming to him until everything that was familiar to him was gone. And that, Micah, you brought that point up, which is good. And I think sometimes that's the wake up call you need to have when you're like so wrapped up in your own ambition and so wrapped up in your own dream that like it's like, okay, but what are you without this also? And I think that he realizes very quick that he's like, oh, I have the things that I wanted. I have the respect from the people that I care about, like Sam. I have my dad's respect, which he's able to finally connect with him in that way. And yeah, he only realizes that after his entire town is gone. Yeah. Well, you said earlier in this conversation, like Flynn gets everything he wants in the first 20 minutes of the movie, and it's just as the audience, you're waiting for all of it to unravel, and then eventually, the chaos happens, and he's got to learn his lesson. Yeah, it's like they say in film school that it's like you have a and I think I kind of filled in some blanks here too. But it's like the whole story is about the character trying to get what they want. And then everything else in the movie is trying to convince the character that they actually want something else. Yeah. And usually the main character doesn't realize that until the end. Yeah. And so that's the way that it follows like a very, I feel like, basic structure. But yeah, like whether it's intentional or not, like all these other characters are trying to convince him, like, I think you actually want this. Yeah. Which is what the girl he falls in love with, the relationship with his dad, all that. Yeah, like it doesn't. I think what he wants is more. Like I want more recognition, more, and it's like, okay, what about for lack of just better explanation, like what about the quality of your relationships, and what about the quality of your work, and like it's much more fruitful to like be down to earth and well, and it's cool how that comes together, like the thing with his dad and using the little like animal translator on his dad at the end. Like that's a sweet moment, and it is kind of the coming together of like his creative power, which he invented this thing like at the beginning of the movie, with actually now getting to connect with his father. Where's your take on that scene? Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments because I think I didn't realize it as a kid, but like we all have, I think Micah, you were also saying this, but we all have that moment where we put the translator on our parents, and it's such a great visualizer, the fact that it was Flint's invention that was able to allow his dad to speak on what he actually meant. And I think we all have that moment where we put the translator on our parents, and it's like, okay, I know what they actually want from me. And like Flint's dad, he rarely gets it right in the first half of the movie, where he's like, you can tell that he just wants to be closer to his son, and he wants his son to be wise. But and he keeps giving bad fishing metaphors, and Flint's just like, I don't get this, Dad. Like, I don't get fishing metaphors. Like I don't speak your language. Yeah. And so to Flint, it comes across as just disapproval altogether. Yeah. And when he's able to put the translator on, his dad's like, I'm proud of you, and that's why I'm saying all of these things. Yeah. And like that's why I'm trying to help you. And I think that's a very relatable moment. Like we all have have those times where it's like, okay, I understand my parents' intention a little bit better. Yeah. I kind of got the sense like
there's a willful part of misunderstanding his dad when, and maybe it's like as the audience, you see like his dad's trying, but he's just like, all he can hear is like fishing metaphors, and he's stuck on the narrative that like dad just wants me to do the fishing thing, but he can't accept that like that's not who I am. As the audience, you kind of see and are a little bit more clued into like that's your dad's just trying to connect with you in the way he knows how. And then I think, at the end, I liked what you said. It's his invention that can translate what his dad is doing. There's this idea I see in the therapy world of 2026 when people get really locked in on like, no, it was my parents' role to understand me, and they didn't understand me, and they carry this grievance with them over their life, and maybe they have some legitimate grievances, but I think is a mark of maturity to start seeing your parents as just the people they are. Like for Flint, this is just how your dad communicates, man. Like if you want to have that connection with your dad and get the approval that is already there, by the way, you're going to have to do the translating. You're going to have to try to see him for the man he is. And, Flint, when he gets that moment, it's embodied in this, like this metaphor of this like animal translator box. But it's the
inventions
cool metaphor there.
He's had all along.
Yeah.
It's not the inventions that he just created. It's like, oh, these are the tools you have already had.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something interesting is that like the only inventions that survive are the ones he had before everything was destroyed.
Yeah. And
they find new meaning after.
Oh, that's good. Well, even like, the sprayable shoes thing that like kills the whole meatball thing at the end. The inventions that remain and were working were the ones that he built when he was just doing it for love of the game, doing it for like actually wanting to like have the creative new inventions rather than just trying to build something to impress and commercial success, all the big ambitious stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's fun. This was a fun one. I think it's it was funny to me when I was going through it because it's so, when we're talking on StoryDads, we're trying to mine these things for depth and metaphors. We just went into a couple like pretty cool ones that are there, but the tone of it is so freaking goofy that like it feels just like it's a funny movie to try to do this with. But I think there's some cool stuff in there.
I think I personally find the most meaning in all the goofiest movies. I'm like, you just got to dig for it a little more, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, you got to be like Flint, where you actually reach out to your dad and see there's more depth there than you realize if you just get out of your way.
We put our translator on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Exactly. Well, yeah, absolutely. Welcome to StoryDads. Well, Tessa, thanks so much for being with us again. This was a ton of fun. We get to have you back twice. And definitely hope to get you on again to chat some more stuff in the future here.
Love it.
Yeah, before we wrap up, can you tell us a little bit of like what you're up to, plug some of your music projects? What are you working on these days?
Yeah, I'm doing, I'm in that phase of life where it's a lot of like freelance and a lot of like random side quests, but it's exciting. And I've been working on a lot of films. I am working on a production company with my friends where we promote bands and create really cool, like unique videos for them. And so it blends the music and movies. And then I decided at the beginning of this year to start my own music project, and now it is taking off a little bit more. I won't go into too much explanation, but it's it's my songs and I play with the band. And it's called The Holidays, and
Sweet.
I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Everyone check it out. We'll link to all your stuff here, but Micah and I know that you are an unbelievable talent with this stuff. I think there's a part earlier in this conversation where you're like, oh, it's kind of like jack of all trades, master of none, don't really specialize in this. Like, I'm not like a way in-depth music person the way a lot of people in your life are, but like you got some of the most talented musical ability and singing ability. So like everyone should go check it out.
Thank you so much. I'll take what you say to be true.
Okay, good. Well, I mean it. Micah, can you hear us up there in your cabin? You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, I can hear you guys perfectly. I think I'm just on a really brutal lag on your end, but yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And T, what you said about physicalizing metaphors, in terms of the mayor, in terms of the inventions and stuff, it's just like it's spot on. I think it's one of the hallmarks of masterful storytelling. And these filmmakers who made this will go on to make Into the Spider-Verse, which is again one of the most phenomenal film experiences I've ever had in the theater. And then they also did they also did Project Hail Mary, which is a good book to begin with, but then they obviously crushed the film because it's the only like major studio movie recently to actually do well, and it did phenomenally. And so these storytellers should not have been underestimated in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, if they were, which I'm not sure that they were. I think it wasn't a critically acclaimed movie, but it's a really well loved movie, which I think counts way more. Almost all my favorite movies did poorly, like critically, but then in hindsight are like amazing. And yes, it is true that you are at an early age virtuosic musically, in my opinion, in my uninformed opinion. And and yeah, I wish that we were able to take this translator idea. Like recently, Japanese started getting automatically translated by Twitter or X, and suddenly everyone realized they had these amazing friends and allies from the other side of the planet where they're like, oh my goodness, like Japanese Twitter is awesome. And like the Japanese were like, oh, American Twitter is awesome. And there are all these new friends. And so I wonder how we can find ways to translate one another like closer to home. Where can I translate, insert opinion here that is opposite of mine, and like how can I put a translator on them and go, they really want people to be fulfilled and happy, hopefully, and if they don't, then maybe the translator just makes that more clear. But that idea that the only perception that I'm in control of even remotely is my own. And like with my dad, I had to realize, when he's anxious and angry, it's because he loves me and he's afraid something's going to happen, or etc. But so anyway, in my lag world, I will now wrap up this monologue and say, awesome episode, and thank you so much for being here and for coming back to finish it up.
Thank you guys. Yeah, this is super fun. Of course, anytime.
All right. Well, more to come. Look for all Tessa stuff. Links all in the show notes. And thanks for being us, everyone. We'll catch you guys next time on StoryDads. Hey, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that episode, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Quick reminder, once again, let us know what you think, and let us know what else you want to hear. Hope this has been illuminating for you in some areas, even with a wacky, zany movie like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Let us know what other movies you want to hear, or go back and watch some of our past episodes and spark some new thoughts about some of your old favorites. So thanks for being with us, and this has been the StoryDads.